The Center for Training and Integrated Research in Asset Development, CETRAD, in collaboration with governments of Kenya and Tanzania, is carrying out research with an aim of availing technologies and policies that will promote sustainable use of biomass energy. This includes firewood charcoal briquettes and improved cooking technologies. Transformation of the world's energy system from non-renewable and mainly fossil energy sources to renewable ones is considered a key condition for mitigating climate change while averting impacts of land use change beyond safe planetary boundaries. Scientists argue that energy deprivation hinders society from engaging in productive economic activities and that improving access to sustainable energy services will have a multiplier effect on health, education, transport, telecommunications, safe water and sanitation services. For us. Maybe we could start from there and then talk about why this is important.
You say that renewable energy is expensive. Depends on what kind of renewable energy you're looking at, and I would say that renewable energy, especially if you're looking at the biomass energy, is not expensive. Particularly if you're looking at the two main components of the solid fuels, that is charcoal and firewood. But of course, there are other carriers of energy, biomass energy that include liquid fuels as sourced from the jet rover, as briquettes that could be sourced from farm residues, but also what has been promoted in the rural areas, the biogas. Yeah.
Okay, so not as expensive as we might think. So talk to us about some of the work that you're doing and the impact you hope it will have.
The highlights and the results that I'm going to discuss with you or present to the viewers is actually emerging from a research project that we started implementing way back in 2013. This is a project that looks at the prospects of proper biomass energy value chains in East Africa. It's actually implemented in both Kenya and Tanzania, and is funded by the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, together with the Swiss National Science Foundation under the auspices of the Swiss Program of Research on Global Issues for Development. And several institutions and researchers were involved in carrying out this research, with the lead organization sitting in the University of Bern, the Center for Development and Environment.
So tell us more about the project itself.
This project sought to look at three aspects. The first aspect was, what are the key factors that influence adoption or non-adoption of these biomass energy technologies for production and cooking. The second aspect was looking at the environmental impact and its economic effects of the different types of biomass energy value chain through conducting a detailed cost value analysis and value chain analysis. And the that aspect looked at the potential in this biomass energy sector going into the 2030 vision.
So there's my viewer who's watching today, and Daktari using a bit of big words, there's biomass and that sort of thing. So tell us about this jiko, these briquettes. From a very simple point of view, how is this going to benefit a lady who's watching right now and perhaps wants to make her breakfast and she wants to use something that is perhaps cheaper and that is safer and that is cleaner.
Yep.
So tell us about that. What would excite her when she hears about this project?
There are technologies
Yeah.
that exist for improved cooking at the household level. Remember, we so much use the traditional 3-stone stoves,
That's right.
which of course don't cost anything in terms of establishing. You just need the three stones,
that's right, yes.
your firewood, you put there, and there you are, you're cooking.
Right.
In terms of longevity of use, it can last as long as the stones will rust before they are crushed.
That's right.
But of course, when you look at the effects of using this, especially on your own health, you know, the amount of smoke that you inhale, the amount of wood that you use to deliver one meal,
The time it takes
to go and look for it,
the firewood,
of course, gives you reason to want to look for alternative technology. And these technologies are there.
Okay.
You have heard of the Kenya ceramic jiko. And even if you look at the traditional metal, you know, jiko, if you compare with these 3 stones, these are much more efficient, better ways, you know, healthy ways of, you know, preparing our meals.
Right.
And for that mama who is listening back at home, it is not as expensive as it has always been. But of course, the state of the art that are coming out are expensive. They'll go up to 3,500 shillings per jiko, but you don't have to go for that. You can go to the normal cooking jiko, which will reduce the amount of wood that you're using and give you a better cooking environment.
Yeah, and it's also like we understand briquettes and that sort of technology is you can use it again and again. So it's not, you know, once you've put in the firewood, it's all gone down to ashes. You have to use.
Yes, correctly. Just like in the case of charcoal. You find that after you've done your meal, you can put the charcoal, you know, in water and bring it back to use next meal. Same with briquettes. Briquettes you can use and reuse and reuse. And like the situation with the firewood. Yeah.
So then let's talk about, you know, research in renewable energy. And I like that we're starting to adopt some of these measures, even when you take a look at, you know, conservation in general.
Yeah.
But why is it important for us to start to do this ourselves? You talked in the beginning about this project and that, of course, you have a number of partners.
Yeah.
But it's important, I think, that, you know, we're spearheading this. Why is that important? Because we could sit here and wait for Sweden and whoever to do it and then bring us this technology and say, here you go, Kenya, here you go, Africa, here you go, Tanzania. But we are taking a different route now, Kenya and Tanzania working towards this ourselves. Tell us why that is important.
It is very important. We appreciate the role of research in informing, you know, development process, you know, guiding policy formulations, and even informing practice on the ground. This is very important. That the research that aims to achieve this must be context specific.
Right.
What does this mean? It must be done in the areas where the problem is.
Yeah.
Of course, that does not negate the need to carry out research and generalize and be able to share the results with areas that have similar conditions like where you have done the research.
Yeah.
And so, for example, this one we had Kitui and we had Mosh. This does not mean that results that are coming from these 2 study sites do not have a position in other areas.
Yeah.
They do, but must be areas that have similar conditions like these 2 study sites.
So this is the idea
and
of
when we
finding
bring
homegrown
these
solutions.
results,
Yeah.
we are not speculating. We're not saying we're bringing new results that were done somewhere in South America, somewhere in West Africa.
Yeah.
These are results generated from the communities that we want to target for interventions.
And therefore, once they're homegrown solutions, then they work rather than taking something copy-paste and try and fit it into a situation where it doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then where do you see the future of renewable energy? There's this big discussion. I mean, we've just come out of Morocco, Marrakesh. You might not want to respond to this, but the world is worried about Donald Trump and his stand on climate change. But, you know, when you look at it globally, from a local perspective, what are your hopes and dreams, and where do you think we need to be in terms of looking for better and more efficient sources of energy?
First, let me underline one very important fact, that the demand for biomass energy, and especially the solid fuels, firewood and charcoal.
Right.
In Kenya, in East Africa, in Africa, in the developing world, and even in the developed world, will continue to rise.
Okay.
The national average of solid fuel consumption by the 2009 population census starts at 82%.
Wow.
That's the national.
That's quite high, yeah.
If you look at Kitui, it goes to 87%.
Yeah.
If you go to Tanzania, around Moshi, it goes to 90%. And so high rates in sub-Saharan Africa, in Africa. So we must ready ourselves to make effective intervention if this biomass energy has to be sustainably utilized. Charcoal and firewood have among the highest impact on greenhouse emissions.
Yeah.
But there is hope if we promote the utilization of technologies that help to reduce these effects. We've just looked at the potential by looking at 3 different scenarios. What happens if no interventions, the social, political conditions do not promote biomass energy utilization, and what if there is deliberate promotion of the same, and even going further to look at what happens if we diversify. The first scenario shows very low potential and very low adoption. The second potential, where we deliberately target biomass energy sector with appropriate, policy frameworks and effective strategies, then there's huge potential to the extent that demand will be satisfactorily supplied.
Right.
If we diversify, for example, by taking 50% of the wood that is used in charcoal and make briquettes, we will actually supply in excess of what the demand provides up to the year 2030.
Okay,
so there is hope.
There is hope.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Dr. Boniface Kiteme, who's the director of the Center for Training and Integrated Research in Asset Development. They're carrying out some projects in Kenya and Tanzania, Kitui and Moshi to be specific. So do look out for that and where the world is headed in terms of, making sure that we have safer, more efficient forms of energy. You're watching Worldview right here on KTN News, where you get the whole story. We're taking a quick break. We will be right back.